Hey everyone, thank y'all so much for clicking on this video. I know I said that I was gonna do weekly videos, but it has been a crazy month and a half since I quit my full-time financial analyst job. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. I created like 2 videos like during that month and a half, and then I kind of was gonna upload them, but then after upon reading them, after upon like viewing the videos, I was like, no, like I don't know, like for me, if I'm gonna post something, I just want it to be, you know, meaningful, or I just want it to be, you know, kind of useful. And my editing was not really good, and I was in a hurry, and so long story short, instead of posting 2 random videos, I'd rather just, you know, post a video, give like a proper update of like what I've been doing thus far. And I just realized, so the title of this video is called What I Have Learned from Studying in the Past 8 months for the CPA exam. So, because everyone says that, like, oh, you know, studying for a CPA exam is very like, it's the journey, you know, it's all about the journey, you know, it's all about the process. And so since I'm waiting for my scores to come out, I guess I kind of created like a list of 10 things I've learned from studying for the CPA exam. And in case you are planning to study for a CPA exam, but you just kind of want to know, like, what have I learned during the process? Because so many times people, especially on like YouTube, they post videos about like, oh, this is how I passed, or oh, this is how I passed this, or oh, this is how I passed that. Like, I'm more of coming from the terms of like, I haven't passed, or I haven't found out that I passed. But I want to tell you all what I have learned thus far. Okay. So here we go. So 10 things I've learned about studying for a CPA exam for the past 8 months. One, I put there are phases to learning. So when you're studying for a CPA exam, one thing that I wish, you know, I would have known/learned is that there are phases to learning. You know, I don't know if you were a good student in undergraduate school, maybe you could kind of relate to this. But if you're someone like me, who it's been almost like 4 years since I graduated from my university, phases to learning. What I mean by that? So what I mean by that is basically, how do I say this? Like, what I've learned from January, and we're in September now, is a completely different person. When I first started studying, I was just kind of doing a little bit of everything. Like, I was going through, you know, multiple choice questions. I was going through the textbook. I was going through like the audio file. I was just kind of doing everything, and eventually I got to like a flow of like understanding how my brain works and learns. And the only way you can really do that is to literally go full force on a CPA exam. So that's the first thing I would say. The second I would say is studying for a CPA exam is a reflection of your discipline and your academic skills. So the CPA exam is basically a mirror over how you study for your academics, particularly. Like, I wouldn't say it's a reflection of your self-discipline, because I think you can be a very self-disciplined person in other aspects, maybe like in health or in like your career. But when it comes to like academics, when it comes to like CPA, it'll be a reflection of that. And I could tell you right off the back that like my academic self-discipline skills when I first started weren't up to par. It definitely took a lot of trial and tribulations And yeah, so I would say that it's, but just like with anything, self-discipline grows as the more you practice, the more you do. So I will say that. The third thing that I have is you feel like an outsider to people because you're always studying. I don't know if this relates to certain people, but like for me, I feel like ever since I've been studying for the CPA exam for like the past 8 months, I feel like people, like I go into conversations with people, and this is more especially when I was working full-time job. Like my schedule when I was working full-time job, it was like from 8:30 to 5:30 I worked, and then I would leave, go to the gym from like 6 to 7, get home around 7:30 to 8-ish, and then start studying for CPA exam from like 8 to 12 or 8 to 1. And I did that like Monday through Friday for like the past like 6 or 7 months, I believe. And but like, every cause has an effect, every effect has a cause. If you have not read the Kabbalion, highly recommend that book. But essentially what that means is you kind of feel out of place with people, because you are so into the CPA exam, and especially this is like your main focus in your life, you kind of lose touch of like outside things or outside things. So like, maybe you're not up to date with like, who's the contestant for like RuPaul's Drag Race, or who's winning in sports, or what's the trending movie out right now, or like who's the trending artist that people wanting to see. Like you kind of like zone out of everything. So when you're like in social gatherings or when you're like in social circles, like you just kind of are like, oh, like what have you been doing? Oh, I've been studying for a CPA exam. And like that's it. Like there's nothing magical, there's nothing like big. You're just like, oh, I'm studying for a CPA exam. Or people always say, oh, you're always studying. And I'm like, I know. I feel like this never ends. Like, it almost feels like it's like you like, oh my God, like studying is a part of who you are. If that makes sense. Like, and yeah, so that's one thing I would say. It's like, if you're going through that, like you're not alone. You kind of go into like this like hermit mode where you're just kind of like, all you think about is like CPA exam, your job, and like you're eating and cleaning your house. Yeah, so like it's almost like you literally have like a very like robotic like lifestyle where you only do X, Y, and Z, and so when you're going to like social gatherings or like parties, when you have the time and you talk to other people, like it's definitely not fun because you kind of feel left out, if that makes sense. So yeah, I will say that. Those are the things I've learned thus far. Life does not go on hold. Alright, so number 1, there are phases to learning. Number 2, studying for a CPA exam is a reflection of your academic skills. Number 3, you feel like an outsider people. You feel like, so number 3, you feel like an outsider to people because you're always studying. And number 4 is life does not go on hold when you start studying. So number 4, life does not go on hold when you're starting to study for the CPA exam. So what do I mean by that? So as I said before in my, I think my first video or my second video, I forgot which one. There's only 2. Life does not go on hold when you start studying for a CPA exam. Like, you want it to go on hold. So, when I started studying for a CPA exam, I'm not kidding you, the first 6 months, I went through a breakup. My boyfriend, or we broke up. My grandma passed away. And number 3, I ended up quitting my full-time financial analyst job. And then I was kind of going through some like drama stuff at work too. And I was dealing with a lot of just stuff in my family too after my grandma passed away. So, and it's funny because like that's actually the reason why I was studying for the CPA exam, because when I started studying, which was like last year, I was like, I'm not really doing much with my career. I'm not really doing much with like, my love life, not really doing much with like my personal life, not doing much with like anything. So I just thought, okay, well, if I'm not really doing much, I think maybe this is the time for me to level up and just start studying. And I kid you not, as soon as I started studying for the CPA exam, I kid you, like within the first 6 months, my grandma passed away. I had my first breakup. And then I ended up quitting my job of 6 months. And when you quit your job, like you go through various phases, of just reminiscing stuff. And so just a lot of life-changing events happening in the first 6 months. And this was while I was studying for a CPA exam. So yeah, so life does not go on hold while you're studying for the CPA exam. But I will say, as part of like an advice, it doesn't need to go on hold. You just have to learn, and the only way you'll learn is if you do it. But the only way you would know is if you, how do I say this? Like the only way you would know, the only way you'll life does not go on hold when you start studying, but it doesn't need to. So what I mean by this is, what they say, surfers go on a surfboard and then they get on like the board, and then they don't fight the waves, they go like ride the waves. That's like a like a cheesy analogy, but like it's kind of true. Like, how do I feel? This is annoying me, by the way, sorry. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I've learned to be more flexible with what I'm going through the CPA exam. So like I have weeks when I'm studying, and I just know that whatever, unless it's life-threatening or unless it's like an extreme emergency, like I won't respond to like an email or a text message. And I usually turn off my phones when I study. Like when I study for a CPA exam, I usually just turn off my phone. If it's a real emergency, my MacBook that I use, I have my iMessages on, and my mom and my sister and my dad, who are like the top 3 important people like in my life, and my brother, but my brother doesn't have an iPhone. So if it's really important, he can tell my mom or my sister. But they send me like text messages, and then since my phone is off, and I have my iPad. I don't have my iPad registered for iMessages, but my MacBook has it registered for iMessages. So if it's really important, they can send me a text message, and then I see that little notification, and then I will either ignore it or reply to it. But I'm not turning on my phone for that. So yeah, so you learn how to build little things, when you're studying for a CPA exam, unless it's life-threatening, it can wait. And I think I've learned that, unless it's life-threatening, it could wait. But also too, when my grandma passed away, I've also learned to, my coworker at the time, I was working in the creative resource department, and the person that was leading it, she told me really good advice, and till this day I still remember that advice. And she told me I was she saw that I was studying every single day, and then she basically told me, hey, you need to learn how to give you need some time off. I mean, I'll never forget. She told me, she's you need time off. Stop studying for a CPA exam and take time off. And I think when you go through a difficult decision like grief, I wanted so badly to keep going on studying, but I realized that there was no point in studying. If you are not in the state of mind and feel, there is no point in studying for a CPA exam, because you're just gonna be wasting your time. It's better to take a week off, grieve, and then go back to it than trying to push an extra week of studying, because I think if not, you'll gonna be counterproductive. And that's just my opinion. I think other people can probably take grief more better than I can, but we're going through a difficult experience. I think I highly suggest that, you know, if you were to go through a difficult experience while studying for a CPA exam, I would suggest you take a week off. And even when I quit my full-time financial analyst job, I took the week off after just to like reflect, just to like think about things and how I can re-strategize for like the remaining part of 2019. So yeah, okay, so number 5. Do not overthink your study process. I think studying for a CPA exam, I definitely, especially in the beginning, I was just going through like another 71. I was going through like Facebook groups. I was going through just Reddit and like figuring out like, okay, what study strategy should I do? And I think one of the mistakes I've done is I was just like copy and pasting everyone's study strategy, and then I realized I was like kind of being I was being unproductive, you know, because I was just trying to just like, I think at that point, like I was just trying to reduce the amount of study hours and maximize my results. But I realized that like you can't do that. Like, yeah, you can try to be efficient on certain things when it comes to CPA exam, but when you're trying to like cheat your hours, like you can't do that. I can tell you right off the bat, because it's gonna come back, you know, it's gonna come back. So I put here, don't overthink your study process. Like if it's gonna take you, let's say 200 or 300 hours, it's gonna take you 200 and 300 hours. Like there is no going around it. And if you try to go around it, I feel like you're gonna waste more time trying to like cheat the system than actually like going through it and finishing it off. Because that makes sense. And I'm not saying you're like cheating or anything. I'm just saying that, you know, when you like go through like a simulation or you go through like a chapter, like you're just trying to get the main ideas by like skimming the whole book and not paying attention to like what could be important. You know, I think sometimes when you're trying to like speed up your learning, like depending on who you are, like you can't. Like for me, I can tell you right off the bat, like I can't speed up my learning. Like it takes me a while for me to learn, and I wanted so badly to just be like a fast learner, and I realized that like I'm not a fast learner. It takes time for me, it takes practice, it takes me discipline to do it, and then I can do it. You know, some people can pass CPA exam in like, you know, 3-4 months, like, you know, good for them. But for me, like, it's not been like that. So, yeah, so don't overthink your study process. So for number 6, know how your brain learns and operates. So that's like a big one. I'm gonna put a star on that one, because that one, like if you're thinking about studying for a CPA exam and it's been a while since you've been in school, or you feel that like you just feel like you need like an extra like course or something to prepare you for the CPA exam, like you need a preparation course for the preparation course, like if that makes sense, I highly recommend this course from Coursera. It's called Learning How to Learn, and I took it last month. It's a 4-week program, but it's actually like your own pace. It technically could be like done in like 3 days, I think. But essentially like what it is like you learn about like spaced repetition, and you learn about like how your brain like learns and operates. And it based here, I'll show you like some of the notes that I took with that. So okay, so like so basically how the Learning How to Learn course is, it basically tells you like, okay, that there's basically 2 types of learning, right? Or thinking. There is focused thinking and diffuse thinking. So focused thinking is basically when you so focused thinking is when you're like trying to specifically try to think of a very particular thing. So let's say, for example, like these Burberry glasses that I have, right? So these Burberry glasses that I have, when you're focused, you're looking at, the shape, the color, the texture, the size, where, like just more like the details of it, right? But then when you go more into like diffuse, where you're trying to get like the overall picture, now I want to see, okay, like, who made these eyeglasses, where they're made in London, who is Burberry, how many Burberry stores are in the world, how many how many products or services do they offer, trying to get a bigger picture. And what I've learned, I wish I would have learned this, is basically saying that you could only do one type of thinking at a time, but you cannot do both. So what it means is when you're learning something new, you could only learn something new by being focused on a detail at a time, or concept based, more bigger picture, but you cannot do both at a time. Okay, never mind. All right, I found them. I found my notes. Okay, so yeah, so like you can only do one type of learning at a time. Like you cannot do two. And this course basically teaches you like how to learn. And I think every college course there should be a course on that. Like I know it sounds like a very like cliche thing, but like it actually was very, very helpful. I'll put like a link on below. It's free. It's a free course. I think there's like 1 million people that have taken it. I highly recommend that course, and it goes into detail. Like the professor talks about how she, used to hate math, and she used to really not understand that, like, oh, maybe she wasn't like good at math. And I think this story with a lot of people, especially taking the CPA exam, like, oh, like, I can't be a CPA because, like it's not in my genes, or I don't have like the mindset. And like the professor teaching the course, she, he used to hate math, and math was like her worst subject. I think she didn't do good in school. And then it was only until she learned how to learn that she was, she became really a good student. She became a good student. And then now she is a professor for engineering. So, and obviously if you're an engineer, you have to be really good at math. So she found a way to be really good at math, and then she ended up being a professor in engineering. So they brought in like really good like videos on like linguistics and like, or like neurologists, and how like the brain works and operates. It was really good. I highly recommend it. So if you wanted like a review course before the CPA review course, highly recommend that course. Okay, 8. Failing is not as bad as you think. Okay, so I got it to number 8 because I have not passed. I just found out that I have not passed financial accounting and reporting and auditing. And although I am disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, like, because I'm gonna have to retake both exams again. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it did hurt, especially auditing, because that's the one I took recently. But I don't know, like, cause I don't know, like, maybe I'm wired differently, but like, I've gone through like, a lot of really bad things in my life. I've gone through, I don't know if I'm going into detail, but like, I've gone through some pretty difficult moments in my career and in my life, and I've always pushed through. And this one is no exception. Like, even though I failed, I know that like it's only a stepping stone to like something better, But I like how this YouTuber. His name's like Joseph Rodriguez, and he does really good like YouTube book reviews. And I really do like how he calls failure data optimization information, and I really like that because it really is data optimization information. And basically, kind of what I'm telling y'all thus far is what I have done differently. And then goes into number 9. Number 9, you will get confident over time. It's crazy because, like, you know, I started studying for a CPA exam about, you know, 8 months ago. And I could still remember getting my package from Roger CPA, and you know, being all excited, nervous, just getting all these like angst, you know, like, you know. And now, like, I was like, when I first started studying, like, you know, it's like you open like Pandora's box, and you just like want to absorb information. You want to do X, Y, and Z. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want this. What is this? What is that? Like, you know, it's like a first beginner student like mindset, and then eventually you start getting overwhelmed. You're like, how am I supposed to pass all this part? You know, how am I supposed to do all this stuff? And even though I didn't pass by 2 exams, like, you build confidence because you realize that it really, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna be okay. Like, me not passing them, like I could just retake them again. Like, now I'm not saying that I don't care, and I don't get that twisted. Like, I definitely do care, and I definitely like want to pass them. But like, you can't waste your time dwelling on failed results. Like, you can't dwell on the past. Like, you can't dwell on that. You can only use it as data optimization information to see, okay, what else can you do better, you know? So I will say it on that end. And yeah, you get confident over time, and I know I'm gonna pass the CPA exam. Like, I already know it. Like, it's only a matter of time. Like, I have that confidence now. Now I will tell you this, I think I had to go through 2 failed exams to get to this point right now, which is very important. Like, this confidence that I have now, I did not have this confidence when I started studying in January. And how I got this confidence was literally going to the prometrics and like facing your fear of test anxiety, and you realize that it's just a test. You know, like, it's not like the Hunger Games where you're literally like, your life is on the line. You know, it's just a test. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a test on what you know at a given moment in time. You know, it does not mean that you are a dumb person. It doesn't mean that you're worthless. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It's just, you just need more practice and more time, you know, and re-strategize your way of doing things. So I will say that, and yeah, I will say that, yeah. And then number 10 is always question if you are learning something, and trust your sixth sense if you're not. Oh, that's a good one. So always question if you're learning something. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is, as you start studying for a CPA exam, you will know if you're bullshitting yourself or you're not bullshitting yourself, okay? Excuse my language, but like, it's true. Like, you would know if you're learning the material, and you would know if you're not learning the material. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, as I started studying for a CPA exam, like, I was putting in the hours. Like, trust me when I'm telling you, I was putting in the hours. Like, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't studying. Like, I definitely was putting in the hours. But was I learning while I was studying? That's a different conversation. And I think I was kind of lying to myself, you know, that I was like, oh yeah, like, I'm learning because I'm studying. And no, you can just be studying. Like, you can be studying and not be learning, you know? So I've learned that, like, you know, if you know, like, inside, like, you're not learning, but you're too scared because you're already, like, you know, 3 or 4 chapters in, like like, for a good example, like when I was studying for auditing, I was about like 3 chapters in, and something just told me like, okay, like auditing is a very sequential like it's a very sequential test, meaning that you need to know how to do, you know, the first module to go into a second module to go into a third module, at least for me. And I was already like in the third, you know, chapter, third module, and I was like, I don't know this. Like, I don't know this. Like, I think I know this. And even though I studied chapter 1 and chapter 2, I'm like, I don't really understand what the hell is risk of material misstatement, you know? And I really, and now I know what risk of material misstatement is. So yeah, so I had to like stop everything that I was doing and say, you know what, and I asked myself, is it better? And I had my test scheduled to be in like the upcoming week, and I rescheduled it. And I was like, you know what, I would rather go into it knowing like I would rather go into the testing center knowing that I at least gave it the best I could with the amount of information I could learn and know, rather than just trying to skim it, you know? Because I think that I was starting to stop myself. Like, if I didn't understand it, go back and learn it, you know? And it takes going back to chapter 1, like go back to chapter 1. Because it's better to do that than waste your whole time getting through the whole book and then realizing that you don't understand it, you know? So that's the thing I will tell you. Like, you know, it's better to just stop, be honest with yourself, and then go back to chapter 1 or chapter 2 and reread it again until you fully understand it. And my camera is about to die right now. I see it, it's like blinking. But yeah, that's it. Those are the 10 things I've learned thus far studying for the CPA exam in the past 8 months. Yeah, so that means that now I have to study for my retake for FAR and audit, but I'm gonna take audit. Yeah, well, that'll be other videos too, but yeah, those are my 10 tips of like studying for a CPA exam for the past, well, those are the 10 things I've learned from the past 8 months since I started studying. Again, this video is more for people who either like want to learn, who like have questions about like learning for a CPA exam, you know, but like, you know, want to know what the process is. I'm literally telling you like what the process is. But again, I will be a CPA. I already feel it. I feel it, you know, it's already inside me. I just need to put in the work. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and then yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.